It was time for a new cast member. That's what this show needs. I've been reviewing some old tapes. I've been looking at old statistics of the show and downloads, and there are millions. We needed a new cast member. For years, it was me. It was actually Chip and me, and then it was just me. Then it was me and Dame. Then we added Kristen, and they joined me here now. Hello, Dame. Hello, Kristen.
Hello.
And Kristen, I don't know if you know this, but today is a very special day as we add our fourth cast member to the show. I don't know how often they're going to be on, but I do know they're on today. And that cast member is the mouse in Dame's barn. It is right across from him right now. He can see it frolicking because that's what mice do. What's it doing?
I mean, it's making passes back from like one side to the other. I'm assuming gathering food for the winter. It's getting colder. Every once in a while, he'll stop and turn and look at me and just kind of nod his head and then keep on going, acknowledging that I'm here. I've named him Marvin in the short term, just in case. I mean, we can take a vote on that if you don't like it, or maybe give him a stage name for the show. But for me, he'll always be Marvin.
Marvin the Varmin?
Marvin the Mouse.
Kristen, I think it's important that we offer the distinction that Dame is literally in a barn right now, as opposed to Dame's in his house and is calmly dealing with a mouse, because that would be very different, I believe. Maybe it wouldn't.
I mean, here's the thing. Dame lives in the country, and this time of year, I wouldn't be surprised if there was a mouse in the house. Like, that's just part of it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we hear not very often, but we'll hear a mouse in the attic every once in a while, scampering across and scratching on stuff. But yeah, every once in a while.
It's harvest. That's a thing.
It's harvest. It's autumnal season. If we had a mouse that we've detected in our house, which has happened, typically what Mrs. Planer does is she goes out to the garage, she grabs a gas can, drives to the nearest filling station, fills up the gas can, goes back to our home, spreads gasoline around the perimeter of our home, lights a match, and burns down our home. That is typically what we do as city folk.
How often in the number of years that you've lived there have you had a mouse in your house that you
That's
knew
a great question. 17 years. I would say we've had 3 or 4 incidences in which the cat was not away, but the mouse did play. No one? That was pretty good.
Yeah.
Well, we don't have a cat, but anyway, go ahead.
You had a very well-known chipmunk problem a couple of years ago. Now, was that looked on with the same terror by the rest of your family?
No, because they were outside and it was sort of fun because we were capturing them and releasing them. I also have to note, out of full disclosure, we do believe we have a squirrel living in our attic right now.
Ew.
Oh, that's an ew?
Well, I didn't say it wasn't gross to have mice in your house, but I'm just saying when you live in the country, it happens.
Anyway, good morning, Andy. Good morning, Rick Swink. Now, Dane, we're going to get to it in an email, but regarding Rick Swink.
Yeah.
Whoa. Whoa. Do I do it now or do we wait?
Why would we wait?
Well, Rick, this means you're going to have to stick around because you didn't write the email, but the email is about you.
Kind of.
Well, it's not, but it ends up being about Rick. And I was mad because I didn't think of it. Hello, Cheryl. Cheryl's related to Jane. Any idea there, Kristen?
Oh, I don't know. I never even noticed that.
No, not either. How are people? Well, we were all together last week. We had a show last week. We left it on the field, so to speak. We were all very tired. We've recovered a bit this week. Dame, have you had a good week?
Yeah, it's been very fast paced, but it's one of those weeks you look up and you go, it's Friday already, and you feel like you've still got a little bit more left in the tank to go as much as you need. So,
Chris?
He nailed it because yesterday Dame had a presentation and I didn't even realize it was Thursday. And he was like, oh, by the way, this presentation went well. And I was like, oh. It's it's already Thursday. It happened. So a quick one for sure.
I've been fast and furious writing, working on book number 12. A lot of writing this week. Pleased with where we're at so far. And Dame, the best part was yesterday I reconnected with my cover artist who's done covers on the last several books of mine, and I haven't talked to her in a few years, so we got to connect, and she's going to do the next one, so I'm pretty excited about that.
Nice.
Also, right after this today, or a little bit later today, I'm on another podcast, and it's Craig P. Anderson's podcast.
No way.
Yeah, way.
Jealous.
I'm really excited.
We'll tell him we said, hey, it's been a minute.
I know. I wonder what we'll talk about. I think he sent me what we're supposed to talk about, but then again,
Probably not mice and squirrels, huh?
I have to do this thing in a couple weeks. It's called, or I get to, I'm sorry. Let me change my, I'm fortunate to be able to participate in this event called Disrupt HR here in a couple weeks. And what I'm doing is I got to think about this. I get 5 minutes. This is right. And either has to be 20 slides and they go automatically. They change every 5 seconds. And I have to give a presentation in 5 minutes with the slides changing every 15 minutes. And then, talk about whatever it is I'm talking about. So there's 2 important elements as to why I'm sharing this with you. Number one, what I've chosen to do, because as you both know, I'm a raging moron. I said, this doesn't seem difficult enough. So what I want to do is make this a version of hot ones, and I will eat chaotically hot, spicy chicken wings before I start, and then do the thing with my face on fire.
No, you're not.
Oh, absolutely, I am.
Okay, so you had me, because I'm thinking this is prime Peter Dunn territory. I mean,
wait.
Like the 5 minutes with the rotating, you get your timing down, you get your delivery, and you are absolutely going to crush this. You would have been the best presenter possible up there. Now you're going to throw the variable of hot wings in there. I don't see how this makes it more informative. Just people laughing at you struggle.
Okay, so there's 2 additional elements here, and you're right, Dame. So I'm talking about financial stress, and so I'm using the wings as you're not on your game when the body is stressed, and so it's a metaphor for what people go through at work when they're dealing with financial stress. So that's number one. Number 2, as I look at Kristen's judgmental face, I haven't told Candace this yet, and I don't know if I should do this or not. But here's the next part. So Candace and the marketing team prepared the slides. All right. She sent them over to me. I'm thinking it's going to be a much better presentation if I don't look at them prior to the event.
You have your own talk track that doesn't have anything to do with what's going on.
No. I have to see the images while eating chicken wings, and I've got 15 seconds to not only take in what's happening, but then to process a cogent thought back out and leave enough tail on it that it picks up into the next slide, and then do that 20 times. And I thought, I think that'll be more interesting.
Okay. If you pursue this path,
sound like my father. I'm your father.
If you're allowed to pursue this path, I think you ought to do like the first 7 slides straight. But let everybody know that what's going to happen. Like you're going to do it normal, with just every day feeling good. You're on your game, and then start to introduce stress into the situation and see what happens. So you start biting, you start eating the hot stuff into the presentation, so they get a feel for what you're capable of, and then watch it start to tail off.
Yeah, Kristen, the other challenge here is it's a hardcore 5-minute timer. You can't go over, and the second I start talking, the slides start going. So depending on how the eating of the wings goes, it actually could kill a couple of slides, like in a bad way. Mm-hmm. And so as I shared with Candace, I don't want to be up there just masticating in front of everybody, as my slides are going by.
Why don't you just shoot yourself in the face with mace or something to make it a lot quicker?
That would also be a choice.
Not a bad idea, actually. So anyway, going to talk to Kenny. I don't know. I haven't decided what I'm going to do.
I actually like the idea more I think about it, but I think it has to be set up a little bit to explain it, and you don't have the time to set it up, unfortunately. So, I mean, I can't imagine you just talking and then pulling a can out and spraying yourself in the face, or taking a wing out of your pocket and just start chewing on it.
Kristen, you've come to learn this, and I would say tolerate it, because I'm gonna offer a deficiency that I have, and you've grown to tolerate that deficiency. Anyway, Alex, masticating is to chew. Masticating is to chew. So if you're up in front of a large group of HR people masticating, you're just chewing, right, Dame?
Correct.
And if you're in college, you could be matriculating. These are the M words that are fun to talk about in public. Kristen, here's one of the lie I've been telling myself is that I feel like I'm better the less prepared that I am. Like that is, you know this about me. This is what I believe to be true.
I know.
What I don't know if I'll ever find out is if in fact that's been BS for decades and I should have just prepared better.
Yeah, you're right. I have grown to just tolerate the lack of preparation because it just it doesn't mesh with my personality.
I know, but like I really have a bit of a fear that when it's all said and done, and I'll never know, what if this would have all gone better had I simply maybe prepared once?
Or hear me out.
Okay.
You could prepare a couple times.
It seems like too much work.
Yeah, why does it have to be binary? Can't we just like prepare sometimes?
Here's do you want to hear why? Because when I have tried to prepare in the past, and I'll think what I'm going to say, I'll say it, I'll like a line that I say or a joke or a word choice, and either A, I'm afraid I'm not going to be able to repeat it, or B, when something comes out of your mouth the second time, it doesn't feel as organic and as authentic. And so therefore it feels like a canned joke. And while I do have a lot of canned jokes because I do the same talk over and over and over sometimes, there's something about it to me that I'd rather just mess up on the fly. Yes, sir.
How much editing do you do on your books when you write them?
That's a good question. Not a lot.
Okay.
I mean, I do have an editor, and so they'll do like copy editing.
Yeah, sure.
You know?
Sure.
But I am better if I set it down and come back and just get a fresh grip on it a day or two later and can go back through it.
So the first draft would be considered almost a preparation for the final.
Okay, I see. I see the point you're making. Peter's wrong. Damien's right. Thanks, son.
No, just trying to open your eyes to another potential opportunity.
All right. I have to go on Craig P. Anderson's podcast, so we don't have any more time for me to learn fables and life lessons. The moral of the story is don't poke a camel with its mouse. Like, no one cares. That's what I say. Just whatever. How's Marvin? Can you see him right now?
No, hasn't come back in a couple minutes. So I'll keep my phone out just in case. And if I can get a picture of him, I'll take a picture.
This is starting to feel like a hoax, Kristen. I'm seeing him the whole time. How's he doing? Can't see him now, but if I happen to see him, I'll take a picture.
I'd said the whole time he's just traversing from one side to the other, but it's like every 5 to 8 minutes that he goes back. And if I don't see it, he doesn't stick around if I'm not sitting there watching for him.
Scale of
things to do.
Scale of 1 to 6. How cute is he?
He just looks like a little gray field mouse from where I'm at. I can't see any of the features. If he's got like a nice little smile or a little cut in his ear, so it's a little cute thing.
I feel like I want to boop his nose.
I'm sure you would. It's a cute little mouse.
Kristen, you look like you're ready to move on.
We could start the show, but
Wow. All right, well, here we go.
Is this the worst segment of the show for you, Kristen, or the worst part is just us chatting, catching up, and having fun? Fun.
No.
That was convincing. Okay, let's do this. Let me pull up the thing. We're going to do the thing, and the thing will happen. We actually did a little bit of pre-show discussion, so we know what the segments are. In 3, 2, 1. This week on the Pete the Planner Show, we answer your money questions. Here's how the show works. You email us at askpete@petetheplanner.com. That's askpete@petetheplanner.com. And people did that, so we've got questions this week to answer, which is why I introduced Damian Dunn and Kristen Lanius to the show, my co-host. Hello, friends.
Hello, Pete.
Hello, Pete.
All right. I like this one. I like this question because usually you hear this question in relation to a home. And today we're hearing the question in relation to an automobile. And the question is, Kristen and Dame, and then some terse words for me. I have a car loan I got earlier this year with an 8.5% interest rate. Since rates have fallen, should I refinance it? Stephen. Well, Stephen, the words that you offered to me were very rude, but we will still answer your question. Dame, an 8.5% interest rate. And what are we saying? You want to call it a $30,000 car, $20,000? What do we want to call here?
I can change it. I've got 20,000 pulled up and ready to go.
Let's do 30. I feel like, whatever. Let's just do 30. Let's see what we got here.
Okay. $30,000 loan, 8.5% interest rate. We went with a 60-month loan, even though I think the most popular one in America is stretched to like 72 at this point. $615.50 a month.
Okay. $615. Hello, Muhammad. Good to be with you on the show, on the live stream. All right. So Dame, $615 at 8.5%. And we believe current interest rates on a used car are close to 7% now. So they've fallen 1.5 points.
Yeah. And if we're talking mortgages, people are like saying this is a no-brainer. We're absolutely going to refinance at 1.5%. It's going to save us thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars over the life of the mortgage. Does that hold up for a 60-month car loan? Well,
can we guess what we think the payment is?
So, as a reminder, $615 for the 8.5% rate on a $30,000 loan for 60 months. If we drop it to 7%, your guesses are?
Kristen, what do you got?
I've got $575.
Mr. Dunn?
I'm taking the over. I think it's going to be like $597 or something like that.
$594. Kristen wins because of Price is Right rules. Sorry, Pete.
That burger.
$594. So virtually no difference. $20 difference.
However,
Uh-oh.
what if this person, so we're saying, I can't do that kind of quick math, you guys. How much does this person save over the 60 months?
They save $1,200
ish. Okay.
ish.
What if they kept the same monthly payment at the lower interest rate? Do you have a smart calculator pulled up there? Oh, bummer.
Nope.
Because I was going to say, maybe that's where you could make the argument that this is worth the squeeze.
What I also didn't figure into this calculation was if there are any kind of closing costs on the new loan. It almost wipes away any kind of savings.
And if they go the exact same amortization period, then they just restart all the hardcore interest payments and the principal doesn't chip away. So Dame, can we take a look at then dropping it 48 months? And we're going to have to drop the interest rate a tad, I think, right? We're going to have to drop the interest rate from 7 to 6.95 or something to indicate that we're having a shorter period of repayment. We're making this up, by the way, everybody, at this point, just so you know.
Oops. Hold on.
Kristen, what do you think will happen here?
I mean, I think the monthly payment obviously is going to go down, but I don't think that we're going to feel like it's a justifiable amount. I think that's why people take 60-month car loans.
I think what's going to happen is the payment is going to go up about $35 to $42. And I'm going to try to argue that that's a better decision. Dame?
The payment goes up to $717.
Boy, that's a $102 difference. My math is fantastic this Friday morning here in Central Indiana.
Yeah. So just out of curiosity, I clicked into a different page on this calculator, and it says the interest that you would pay on the original loan with the 8.5% almost $7,000. The new 48-month loan, $4,450.
Oh yeah. So yeah, that's this. Now this gets me going to like the 15-year, 30-year stuff on a mortgage where it's like, okay, the cash flow is very different, no doubt about it, but the total interest paid feels justified. I mean, that's why I like when you're trying to buy a house, like what can you do on a 15? Can you afford the 15-year payment and maybe get the 30, but pay the 15, but with a car loan, especially a refied car loan, it's hard to think that way.
Yeah, if you haven't been able to put down a significant amount of money on the car itself to lower that principal amount that you're borrowing up front, changing the interest rate isn't going to help you all that much. And what we've just seen is the best way to save money is to drop the amount of time that you're repaying the loan, which is actually going to increase your monthly payment. So you're kind of playing against yourself there. The easiest way to make this affordable is to not buy that much car that you can't afford.
Good call, Kristen.
So is the argument why, because we see 60 plus month car loans all the time. And I think the justification for people comes down to when you take that $2,500 savings over the 4 years, someone says, okay, well, it cost me, $600 for the whole year. What is $600 for the year on a $30,000 car loan? I think that's where people then justify it because the math is clear, right? We all agree on the math. I think it's just that is the dollar amount compelling enough to get people to shorten those terms? And the answer is no.
Yeah, I believe a car is as much of an impulse purchase, especially in the financing, than just about anything. As much as ordering an appetizer because you're feeling froggy on a Friday night when you're out to eat. Like it is an impulse thing.
Pete, I know you've bought a couple cars in the last couple of years for various reasons, but you are the type of person who basically this is a one-day thing. You go out, you know what you want, and it's got to be done by the time you put your head on the pillow that night. So, but it's not really an impulse purchase for you. Is it?
Well, you were half right. It is a one-day thing, but I don't know what I want before I go. I'll just go and be like, I'm buying a car today. There's 3 or 4 makes that I might buy, but I'm buying one. And like that seems reckless. Like I can't say I recommend that. It's just what I do. You were right. I carve that 4 hours out of my life and say, I must check a box by the end of that 4 hours. And how it gets checked, I actually don't care, but I do trust myself. So I don't know. I don't recommend that. That's for sure.
I'd never really considered it being an impulse purchase, but the more I think about it, it does seem to line up pretty well with other types of impulse purchases, especially for the average Joe.
Kristen, when's the next time you're going to purchase a car?
Hopefully not for several years.
But Rochelle in the Facebook Live comments asked, why does it take 4 hours, especially paying cash? Because it takes 4 hours. Like there's at least an hour and a half of what car am I going to get, and a good 2.5 hours of them sitting there where they title it, and it's a nightmare every single time. All right, let's do this. I do have another car interest news item that we'll hit that right when we come back. Then we'll hit our other email question, and here's the tease. This week, former President Trump, while in Detroit, teased some tax policy. That tax policy is to make car loan interest tax deductible to stoke automobile purchases. Well, what would that actually mean for the economy? What would it mean for taxes? We'll touch on that briefly when we're back, and then more of the Pete the Planner Show. I'm Pete the Planner. Boop bop. Oh, Big Rick Swink, be ready. This is the segment.
The last car that I bought was from a salvage title place, and it took like 30 minutes.
I'm going to need some help. Kristen.
What?
Dame, just go ahead and ask my dumb question.
Are you about to ask me what a salvage title is?
No.
Okay. So it's the insurance company deemed that it wasn't fixable and they gave the person the value of the car, but then that car went to an auction. But when that happens, their title is labeled as salvage, meaning that the insurance company and the state agreed that this car is not worth the money it would take to fix it.
But it had been fixed by the time you bought it.
No. It's the issue with it is does make it it makes it totaled, because if you fixed it, it would not be worth it. But we drive it that way anyway.
Yeah.
What,
Okay.
Can I ask the issue, or do you not really want to go there?
No, it's fine. So it was an older lady owned this car, and she hit someone, and you can't tell that the car was wrecked. Hold on. You can't tell that the car was wrecked, but up underneath, there's some I don't know what it is.
Their blood? Like she hit someone or another car?
She hit a car.
Oh, that's
She hit a
different.
car. I'm sorry.
That's different.
She did not hit a person. This car was not used in a police
It's a murder.
investigation for murder. No.
It's like a murder car.
And it's something with the frame or something underneath. It has this dent in it. I don't know. But the insurance company, you guys, it's a 2000, I don't remember what, Toyota Camry.
Yeah.
It's worth nothing. So that's the point, is insurance was to fix this, it would be more than the car's worth. But selling a car with a salvage title is nearly impossible.
Look, I'm just out here learning. Dame, there's going to be a lot of cars with water damage put on the marketplace. Would those be salvage title cars as well?
Yes, but they have branded flood titles as well. So you know specifically that they were submerged, because that causes all sorts of additional issues.
And Big Rick brings up a great point, which is hail damage can total a car too. So both my person's truck and his grandpa's car both would be totaled for hail damage currently.
Guys, I got home from work last night, and it's very beautiful in central Indiana right now. So the windows are open of my home, and we're just taking in the Lord's air.
And mice.
Sure. Yeah. Is Marvin back, by the way?
No, not yet.
He's conveniently camera shy.
Yeah.
Oh, there's an aardvark in my studio. Oh, it just went away. I can't take a picture of it.
All right.
Hello, anteater. Sorry. I walk in my home. And Dame, you know my vices. I mean, you know them very well. You've contributed to my vices. I've got a bottle of whiskey on my floor in my studio because that's my vice. Okay. But you know certain vices I don't have.
Mm-hmm.
Popular vices with the marijuanas. And I walk in my home and it smells like the streets of New York City. And I don't mean stale urine on a hot summer day. Mm-hmm. I mean the devil's lettuce. And I was like, okay, Mrs. Planner, I know I'm a lot to cope with, but I didn't know this is what we're doing. As it turns out, our neighbor was having some work done on their home, some masonry work. And the workers that were working were between the two homes. And Dame, you've seen my neighborhood. The distance between my home and my neighbor's home, I mean, it's like if you laid Aquagrig flat on the ground.
Yeah.
It's like 6 feet 5 inches of distance. So they're just blowing blue smoke into my home. And my home smelled like a dispensary. Kristen, what do we think here?
Oh, I think that I don't know what blue smoke is, but that made me laugh. And I also think that I'm surprised this doesn't happen more often, because you do live in such close proximity to other homes. I'm just a little surprised.
Ted was getting ready to go to soccer training. He stands at the front door and he yells up to Mrs. Planner, who's like, well, someone's smoking cigarettes. And Sarah comes, pardon me. Mrs. Planner comes down the stairs and she was like, I don't think those are cigarettes. And then my daughter, who's a high schooler, comes down and she just gets this look on her face like, what is going on here? So anyway, that was my encounter with drugs.
He said.
Okay, let's do the show. Oh, we're so behind today, Kristen. Can you quit yapping?
I'm sorry.
Craig is going to be so upset.
Okay, in 3, 2, one. Back on the Pete the Planner show. Kristen, you a big follower of politics and political rhetoric?
Actually, Pete, when I see a video about politics, I generally scroll really quickly so that my algorithm thinks she's not interested in this.
Dame, scale of 1 to 10, how would you say how informed are you when it comes to what's going on in the presidential race?
Informed compared to what?
Someone who's not informed?
Okay, fair enough. 5.
Okay. I fancy myself to enjoy over the years, I've enjoyed politics. Mm-hmm. What, to Dame's ultimate point here, probably will end up being what we've fallen out of love with is the coverage of politics and the media's role in it. And I would agree with my man. However, I was watching root audio and video of former President Trump in Detroit talking to a car manufacturer or something or other. Don't know who's in the audience. And he said a couple things, one of which is that if he's not elected, then the entire country will end up looking like Detroit, which is sort of a strange thing to say to people while you're in Detroit. But, whatever. But the other thing he said that was of great interest to me, of which I talked about at dinner last night with my family, was, and that's how they know to hate their lives, making car loan interest deductible as a way to stoke interest in car buying. And I was like, okay. As always, Dame, when you hear that, who loses? Because that policy is always, okay, we got the winners that the policy is talked about because you got the winners. Who's losing? And it took me longer than I thought to figure out where the losing was. I'm just curious, on first glance, how does the policy of car loan interest tax deductible?
It's almost impossible to make happen because
off the you knew that right away.
Yeah, because the question immediately is this available to everybody? Is this outside of is this a deduction that is available outside of itemizing, or do you have to be able to itemize your taxes in order to be able to take advantage of this? Because if you are, with the standard deductions as big as they are now, so few people actually itemize that. It may sound great and make for a great sound clip, but very few people are going to take advantage of this.
Kristen, your face?
My face is honest. I have a thought, you guys, but it's a hot take, and I'm afraid it's going to come across as insensitive.
Hey, you're here with me, so it's already assumed.
Okay, so I mean this with like all the love and care in the world. I love people. I do. And I have so much empathy for them. I try to love people. But I think that this policy in particular is targeting the lack of education around just how taxes work, because people love to say, oh, I'm going to write that off on my taxes. I'm like, but what does that mean to you? So I think that by saying we're going to allow you to deduct this on your taxes, I think there's a large group of people who are going to be really excited about that, but it won't even apply to them.
I think you're right in the sense that there's a bunch of people who are going to be excited about this that will not apply to them. But I don't feel like that was purposefully. Look at me defending former President Trump. I don't think he purposefully put it out there to trick those people. I think he put it out there not understanding it himself, and because of what Dame mentioned, which is 90%, which is a real statistic I looked this morning. 90% of people take the standard deduction, and in 2023, for married filing jointly, it was like $27,000 or something like that. Mm-hmm. Dame, what did we just say? How much interest was paid a year on the car loan we just discussed in the last segment?
It was like $600.
Right. So that's not going to move someone over the standard deduction to itemize their deductions. Then I read a policy piece, and this felt like a little wonky, like a little policy wonky. And it was meant to like put a dagger in, but it's an interesting number, none the same. Wouldn't it be nonetheless? No one cares. If this car interest deduction thing was actually on top of the standard deduction. Like if it was just a flat out deduction and you could add it on top of whatever your standard deduction was, in a 10-year period, it would add $15 trillion of debt to our coffers. And I was like, okay. So let's just say that's not happening. And let's just go with that. It's like this the Kamala thing of the tax of you're going to have to sell your home because you have an unrealized capital gains tax. Those things are not happening. Correct?
Correct.
Dame, I don't want to force you into a correct. This is not a yes and. Feel free to disagree.
No. When you were asking who the losers are, I was going to say it's everybody, because the only way to do this is to print more money, which gets us more inflation, and we just find ourselves back in the spin cycle.
I do think, and a few weeks ago we talked about Vice President Harris's thing around unrealized capital gains and how people were kind of freaking out a little bit, and we were trying to understand it. We were like, there's just no way. This is one of those reasons financial literacy matters beyond your own personal finances, is because if you don't understand that there's such a thing as a standard deduction, and then if your itemized deductions are not higher than the standard deduction, then you will just take the standard deduction. When you hear a policy like, hey, we're going to put a jukebox in the cafeteria, like when you hear one of those, hey, vote for me, you kind of got to know, because otherwise you're just going, and that's why I'm voting for him, because that'll never happen. And that's where it's tricky.
I think the one thing that's become abundantly clear this election cycle is that politicians in general, I'm not poking at elephants or donkeys here, just in general, have a really poor understanding of the financial realities and the financial rules that the everyday American has to play by. We had the one sound clip, which I didn't have the sound clip, so I had to read it to you, about how to it was Vice President Harris. Was it on home ownership? Oh, it was using equity in your home to pay for a college education, I think, for a kid. Mm-hmm. There's in this thing by President Trump, and then goodness gracious, it's just an absolute mess. And they're writing promises that they have no reasonable way of fulfilling. And even if they do, I don't think we want them to.
Well, here's another example. Two more examples. When Vice President Harris says she wants to have a $50,000 startup money for businesses, like amazing, impossible. like it's like, yes, can't happen. Like that's tough. And Kristen, you remember a few months ago on the show when some politician was like, and that's why the home is the greatest wealth building tool in the world. And it's like, okay, if you want to say multi-generational wealth building, meaning you got to die and someone else gets it, I'm with you. But if you're saying it is a wealth builder for you, you're absolutely wrong, because you have to have a place to live.
Yeah, exactly. And, you were talking about that, Pete. I think what some of this boils down to, do either of you want to take a guess, according to Yahoo Finance, at how much debt we accrue as a nation per day? Like the U.S. debt increases by how much per day?
Dame has done nothing to you today. For those that don't know, there are certain things that upset Dame. And he physically is squirming right now. Not because there's a mouse in his barn, allegedly.
I just want to put the $15 trillion of debt for car loan interest into perspective.
Okay, so every day, how much does the national debt get worse? Is that the question?
Yeah. Yes. So over the past year, they did a whole year, the average per day that it got worse, according to Yahoo Finance.
Dame, you want to go first? Or you want me to go first? I have a terrible guess. I have no idea, but I'm going to give a bad guess.
I don't know. I mean, it's going to be in the billions, but I don't know.
I'd say $1.5 billion.
Damien?
I'll take the over. I'll go $3 billion.
$8.5 billion.
That's a lot of billions.
That's a lot of money.
Oh, and it's time for a break. So we'll talk more right back on the Pete the Planner Show. I'm Pete the Planner. I looked over and we were just having such a conversation. You got Dame talking about taxes, and he's, look at him. Looks like he's got some irritable bowel syndrome. Just really shifting. sometimes you get frustrated about uninformed voters, that sort of thing. Or you think, well, hey, I feel like I know this stuff. And the person who's saying that they're voting for someone else is saying it based on something they don't understand. You get frustrated. But when it comes to like how these policies actually affect your personal finances, it behooves you to understand personal finance a little bit.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, I love the small business startup thing of 50. Again, I can't even articulate it, which shame on me. But $50,000, it's like, okay, neat. Where in the world is that coming from? When we're going into debt $8 billion a day.
Yeah, and the first time home buyer credits and stuff. I mean, it's all out there. I mean, they're trying to. I'm pumping the brakes internally. Sorry, they're buying votes with all of these. With these promises is what they're doing. And same with a lot of student loan proposals as well.
Can you see the mouse?
Nope.
The aardvark's looking good.
Oh, he's great. He's enjoying it.
But he's holding up a sign that says "No photos, por favor." So
I'm respecting it.
All right, now it's time for the Big Rick Swinks segment, which is just different than what people think. Actually, I kind of want to talk about that off the air as opposed to on the air, because I feel like the off the air audience will appreciate this much more than the radio audience.
Okay, so Rick, your glory is delayed. Sorry.
Am I right? Oh, it's not in that question. It's one I put in earlier. Oh, we had 3 questions, didn't we?
And this one's really long. I don't know that we should have saved it for the third segment.
Oh, well, do you want to do Dame's? We'll do Dame's college one.
Okay.
Well, anyway.
Still here.
Rick,
Sorry,
I got a PS on another email, which we'll read next week from a guy named Chuck.
So, Rick, PS.
P.S. Pete, I remember when I first heard of you. I'll read this part, but just don't worry about it. My girlfriend, now wife, hey, Mazel Tov, liked listening to Kim Iverson when we first met back in 2009. For those that don't know, back in the day, I think it was on iHeartRadio or something. I don't know. There was a national syndicated radio host named Kim Iverson. It was like a sex and dating and romance show sort of thing. And I was their personal finance expert.
Really?
Yeah. And it was, I was on a sex radio show because nothing says procreation like this face. But it was radio, so it's fine. Anyway, she was like a brand, like this up and coming brand. Like she was pretty interesting. And so that's what he's referencing. Now she's really into politics now. So it sort of turned a little bit anyway. Anyway, let's keep it going. And I heard you as a guest back in the day. Been tracking your commentary since then. Love the podcast. I've never seen the YouTube live stream or know who your frequent listeners are, but I feel like Big Rick Swink should now be referred to as Big Ruck Swink, at least until your rucking phase dies out. Thanks, Chuck. Big Ruck Swink. How could I have not done that? Are you kidding me? It's incredible.
Well, there you are.
You guys do not feel as impressed as I feel by that.
No, it's because, Kristen, my favorite part of that whole thing was the very last part after your lips was at least until your rucking phase dies out. That was the best part of the whole paragraph.
I rucked this week.
Proud of you.
Good for you.
Mrs. Planner and I were on a walk. I was rucking. She was walking, same speed. and we're going and we're talking, just catching up for the day, as lovers do. Sorry. And we're just walking. She's going to kill me. And we're just walking, and this lady passes us walking from behind, but she's not walking. She's rucking. This woman passes me on a ruck. This is Planner on a walk, rucking, and her backpack look a lot heavier.
You've started a movement in Carmel.
Oh boy. How much is in my pack? Mary asked. Hey, Mary, good to see your name.
2 sips of whiskey?
No, I think like 30-ish, 35 pounds right now. I'm about to get a vest. I didn't want to tell anybody. I haven't yet, but I'm going to. But I don't want to spend the money.
Yeah, but isn't a vest better for like
healthier
your body? Yeah, like instead of having the weight on your back, like more evenly distributing it.
At least then I could say I'm invested in the sport.
It's an investment.
Okay. Oh my gosh, look at the time. We have 2 segments left.
I know.
I have what do I have? Oh,
Is it a hard start?
oh no. What do I got? Okay, I'm good. Oh, just a due diligence call with a bank. That's all.
Jason's calling you out for stolen valor, by the way.
I think you civilians are calling it trekking. Rucking seems like you're trying to enter the stolen valor era. Well, so says the guy eating a baby's face. That's a picture. He's kissing a baby, but it looks like he's eating the baby's face. Beautiful baby. All right, here we go. Dun, 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 dun. Okay. In 3, 2, 1. Back on the Pete the Planner show. Here's the thing. Every week on the radio, the show's the same amount of time. Podcast can run long when one of us gets yappy. Dame.
Sorry.
Hi, team. At a recent group dinner with a bunch of our friends, the topic of sending kids to college and the associated expenses came up. Everyone was complaining about the cost and how it's gotten out of hand, but what can you do? That's when my husband, call him Barry Big Mouth, spoke up and said, just don't pay for it. We aren't going to. I'm pretty sure the entire restaurant collectively gasped and clutched their pearls. Let's hope they were freshwater pearls. Our friends stared in disbelief and asked the expected question, what? How's that?
That's pretty good.
Thank you. They know we're financially stable and make good incomes, so I'm sure the shock on their face was real. Barry and I don't believe we have an obligation to pay for our children's college education. This is likely because we didn't have any help paying for our degrees. We'll counsel our kids through the process and help them make informed decisions, but in our opinion, this is a decision and covering the cost is entirely up to them. Though we're doing well, we're comfortable. We still feel that we need to do more to solidify our retirement plans. I've got a joke running through my head that I'm going to have to pick up as soon as I finish reading this. I can't help it. And can't afford to save for them beyond high school. If we're more confident in our position later, we'll consider helping them pay down loans. But right now, they're on their own. I know it's not a popular approach, but I have to think it's the responsible thing to do. I'd always been confident we were making a reasonable decision until I saw our friends staring at us. Thanks, Mrs. Big Mouth. The joke is if someone like gets injured or something and you run over to them like, oh, are you comfortable? Like, I make a nice living. Like that's the joke that was running through my head, but I didn't want to say it because it feels like, Kristen, you're the one here that unless we're going for doggy daycare, you're not looking at college costs right now for children. What say you?
Well, I don't think that Mr. and Mrs. Big Mouth are that out of bounds here. If we read some of the information, they didn't provide us with numbers, but they did say things like, we still feel like we need to do more to just solidify our retirement plans. And I believe that as parents, not being one, so take that with whatever grain of salt you need to. I think that it's your job to make sure that you're financially stable enough so that your kids don't have to feel like they have to support you as adults. And if you saving for their college education is going to get in the way of that, don't think there's anything wrong with not funding their education.
Dame?
I will be the first one to admit that you have to prioritize financial goals. And taking care of your retirement, at least making sure you're on track, I think outweighs paying for your kids' college. It's not the popular answer, but nobody's going to pay for your retirement other than you. And if you're going to do that through savings or working longer, that's on you. Now, if you can help your kids, I think Mrs. Big Mouth said they'll counsel them through the process and try and find more affordable ways to get through college, whether that's taking classes in high school that have college credit or going to maybe a community college for the first year or two. There are more affordable ways, but I think you have to prioritize, and if you can't do everything, at least do one thing well.
Like my hand in a blender, I have mixed feelings. Does that work?
Ew.
Okay, I have mixed feelings here. Okay. And it's based on this phrase of, well, someone didn't help us with ours. Like, Okay. I get that. Because here's what Mrs. Planner and I say. We didn't go to private high schools. We went to public schools. So public schools are fine for our kids. And that's just our choice. It doesn't matter. What other side you're on, great. Here's the challenge, though. Times are so different than they were 20 years ago that what would it look like if they did move college up the priority list? Because I believe their kids will start at a distinct disadvantage when it comes to their financial life starting. It will be much harder to get ahead than what Mr. and Mrs. Big Mouth dealt with years ago.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't think anybody's debating that the cost of college is much, much higher than it was when Mr. and Mrs. Big Mouth likely went to school. I also don't think anybody is factoring in that there are many alternative pathways in college to having a very successful career as an adult. You can have a very comfortable living, probably just as comfortable as Mr. and Mrs. Big Mouth, even if you don't attend college and you choose certain professions.
As Andy points out in the comments, or they may start an advantage because they're actually thought about the cost of college versus most everyone else. And so I think what she's saying is they would choose a cheaper or more efficient option. Kristen, that's an amazing point, right? It's not, I'm going to have to pay $200,000. It's like, maybe they'll have to pay 40 and be done.
Yeah, Andy's right. You're right. And that's what all of this boils down to, is about communication. You can't say you're on your own, kid, and then not help provide them the tools if you're telling them that they're on their own. And so having conversations with them about the cost of college, or about, hey, does it make sense to go to a community college or a satellite campus before getting your 4-year degree? Do you need to go at all? The key to this is communication, because if you don't communicate with your kids and then they're 18 and they're like, well, I want to go to private school, and your parents are saying, well, figure it out, that doesn't work.
It's a very common conversation that we actually have at Your Moneyline frequently. Is one of the biggest keys to funding a college education is to make sure that you, and if there's a spouse or partner involved in this decision-making process, that you two are on the same page first, and you know how much of the education you want to fund. Is it everything? Is it up to a certain dollar amount? Is it you're going to pay for school if they go to a legacy institution that the family's always gone to, but maybe less somewhere else? As long as there's a plan there, and then, as Kristen said, it's appropriately communicated to the child as well, everybody can make decisions based off of the known factors going into that decision-making process.
Yeah, I just go back to only two of these elements. Number one, ours wasn't paid for. That just feels like weird justification. I don't know. And then the other side of it is, I got stuck on the phrase, we're financially stable and make good incomes. And so then it feels like, well, they probably could possibly do more than they're doing. I don't know. I don't know why I'm so wishy-washy on this one, because normally I'm tough guy McGee on this, and I'm just like, yeah, make them pay.
It's entirely possible that you also have this bias in your head as to what good incomes and comfortable and stable looks like as well, versus what it may look like for the big mouths.
Danza makes an interesting point here in the live stream. Paying for or even attending is definitely a class thing. The big mouths likely come from a lower economic class than their families of origin. They haven't updated their view, even though they've ascended the class ladder. That is a compelling thought that possibly captures what I'm trying to get across.
Yes. And also, it could be about the fact that how many people do we know that in hindsight say, did I really need this? Or did I really need to spend what I spent on it? So it could also be societal pressure to attend college, and then the hindsight of, well, did I have to have this to get where I am? Could be both things.
Very interesting. Very interesting. If you've got an email question, here's what you do. You go to a workstation. Dame giggled. And you put Ask Pete at PeteThePlanner.com in the email address line, and then you email us, Ask Pete at PeteThePlanner.com, put the subject line, whatever it needs to be, and you ask us your question. We'll discuss it on the air thoughtfully, and our live stream viewers will give better answers than the primary host, while the co-hosts try to convince the primary host that he is a moron. That's how the show works. So coming up after the break, here's what we're going to do. We're going to hit biggest waste of money of the week. And friends, this one's kind of wild. Like it's a weird one. You're going to feel strange about it and you're going to think it's a trick, but it's not a trick. It's just a really weird biggest waste of money of the week. And the news, we've got like 23 days left until the presidential election. So the news cycle is heating up. All that's next right here on the Pete the Planner Show. I'm Pete the Planner.
Is it a mouse habitat?
No, that's pretty good though. Have you seen the mouse?
No, I think he's finally gone outside to gather more food before he comes back inside to store it. Sorry.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, I'll put a trap out later today, and if I catch it, you know what I mean, catch it, I'll take a picture and send it to you.
You mean like Kristen's Toyota Camry caught someone?
Yes, exactly.
Oh my.
You're driving the Murdermobile.
I am not.
Mad Max Beyond Christendome. You're just running over people. Oh, I have a 4 p.m. webinar I have to, or thing I have to do.
Today?
I didn't schedule it. It's sort of a long story, as most things are in my life. 4 p.m.
May the odds be ever in your favor.
I went to Buddy's Pizza in Detroit last week when I was in Detroit for a soccer game, and that place is delicious. Detroit style pizza for the win.
Interesting.
Is Detroit style pizza thin?
Oh.
No?
No, it's like kind of fluffy with like a crunchy crust. It's I think it's great. It's light somehow, even though it's thick.
Mm-hmm.
Unlike Chicago style pizza, which is thick and denser than a dying star.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
This has been Physics Talk with Peter Dunn.
Thank you. I got a D in physics. It's worth noting.
Oy.
In high school, and then I took it in college, and I got another D. Actually, think about it. Double D's for me. All right, let's move on. And what?
I'm laughing at Dance's comment. Go ahead.
Chicago pizza is a tomato casserole. That is true. All right, 3, 2, 1. Back on the Pete the Planner Show. This week's biggest waste of money of the week, right here on this here program that everyone in the world loves, is, oh boy, it is a thing that you're going to be delighted by as soon as I can find it. Conway electric laptop safe power strips. No one likes the look of a power brick strung from the nearest wall outlet to a desk. Conway Electric's power strips are designed to look handsome while eliminating the need for such eyesores. Available in 6 sizes to fit your needs, these robust power strips feature up to 6 US-style 120-volt outlets alongside USB smart chip Type-C connections for keeping phones, tablets, and laptops charged. Each of the USB-C ports are rated at 36 watts, meaning you can plug in your compatible laptop using only a USB-C cable and sans the brick it came with. It should be anyway. USB-C.
Yeah.
Cord lengths are from 6 to 8 feet long, all with durable braided nylon covers and serviceable plugs. The 6-outlet Carrera also has a 15 amp resettable fuse and an on-off power switch. Enjoy buying the last power strip you'll ever need. Dame, I've got power strips for days. like a mouse holds barns, or wait, a barn holds mice. I've got power strips, and they are cheap. And so I ask you two friends, colleagues, iconoclasts, what does this thing cost?
They said this is supposed to be handsome.
That is in the eye of the beholder.
I mean, it looks like a plate off of a wall with some outlets shoved in it with an extension cord. Oh, now, I mean, it's a patterned braided extension cord, but with an industrial like prong, a plug on the back of it that you'd see on a carpet cleaner or something. But
I was thinking the same thing. It looks like one of those old, like, what are those old vacuum cleaners, like something Lux, Suxalux, or what was the? There's nothing called Suxalux.
Electrolux.
Electrolux. I would have named it Suxalux.
It would have been great. It'd still be around today.
It really would. Kristen, what do you think this thing costs?
Well, the outlets that have the USB-C are not cheap. I want to say they're like $20 a piece. So you put them on a power strip, you give it a cord. This is $97.
Damn.
75.
$199. Guys, this is crazy.
Yeah.
This is crazy. I mean, this whole show's run with $9 power strips. You know what I mean? And we never have issues in that.
Uh-oh.
That was a trick. All right. Dame, what's in the news this week?
Well done. Well done.
That was good.
Pete, I think this story might hit home for you. Fast foodflation is taking a toll on America's favorite side order. In response to a pullback on fries ordering, the largest fry producer in North America, Lamb Weston, is closing one of its plants and laying off the 375 people who work there, about 4% of its total staff, according to a CNN report this week. Lamb Weston's opponent, self-control. Since grocery store prices have risen more slowly than dining prices and most fast food no longer costs couch change, more people are slimming their orders or white-knuckling at fast burger chains to cook at home instead. On top of that, according to the Fry Company, not many people make French fries at home. This percent of French fries consumed in America come from fast food orders.
Oh, man.
62%. And then I have a bone to pick with you as soon as we finish this.
Okay.
I've got the over.
80%
Whoa.
fries. So Lamb Weston probably can't depend on supermarket brand to plug gaps. And the value meals that restaurants like McDonald's launched to lure back customers actually dented the French fry demand because that mostly includes small fries now. So Lamb Weston is likely crossing his fingers that the launch of the Chicken Big Mac is going to help reverse that slumping foot traffic at Mickey D's, which accounts for 13% of their sales. So remember, kids, when you say no to fries, you say no to jobs. So think about your other neighbors and supersize your fries.
Kristen, we have an inclusive culture here at Euro Moneyline, and our values are very important to us. I do feel attacked with the intro to that story, in which this is a story that would be of great interest to me. So, Dame, I put to you, why is that of great interest to me?
Did we not just talk about Detroit style pizza like 30 seconds ago?
Yeah.
Okay.
Not French fries.
Okay, it's not French fries. Sorry.
Yes, I love food. Okay. What else is in the news?
53%. That's the share of U.S. counties that drew at least a quarter of their income from government aid by 2022, bipartisan think tank Economic Innovation Group found. That's up from less than 1% in 1970 and 10% in 2000. Neither majority party presidential candidate has said much about reducing this growing piece of the national debt because many counties that rely heavily on government safety nets and social program money are clustered in battleground states that will decide the election.
What is the source of this?
It could go back by, I think it was the Wall Street Journal, actually, if I remember right.
Why isn't everyone in the world talking about this? I've never heard this. Kristen, is this new to you?
This is brand new information to me, and I find it quite alarming, actually.
Dame, give the
Sure. So
give it again.
The top of the line stat was 53%. That is the share of U.S. counties that drew at least a quarter of their income from government aid by 2022.
What's it changed from the 19 what's
1% in 1970, 1% 1970, 10% in 2000.
Oh my gosh, that's overwhelming.
That's
it's a problem.
lot.
Well, I want to say it's a problem too, and I'm not going to equivocate here, but I think it's also clearly speaks to the state having more social programs that support more people. But there's some chicken or the egg in that. I mean, oh boy, man, I had no idea. That's a pretty wild stat.
Yeah.
8.5 billion a day, gentlemen.
Yeah.
Is this a tax podcast now? Sucks a tax?
I've got contacts if we want to turn it into a tax podcast. Just
that's true. Then we would have a fourth podcast host, and
We would all be fired.
oh my god, Dame, your wife, if she was running this show, I would be the first to be fired, and I would bet my life on it.
I don't know. There's nepotism involved there.
She likes substance. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What else is in the news?
If you've walked by a defunct Redbox vending machine recently and wondered why in the world it's still there months after the DVD rental company went bankrupt, the answer is because they weigh nearly 900 pounds and it's kind of an ordeal to get rid of them. There's still around 24,000 useless, hulking, bright red kiosks in the field, the Wall Street Journal reported, and many of them require an electrician to disconnect. While the primordial husks stand idly in the corner of your local CVS or Walmart, they still mooch off businesses' electricity like the worst freeloader you've ever known. Walgreens says it's spending this amount a month across 3,800 stores to power Redbox kiosks.
Two thoughts. Number one, thank you for not saying, Pete, this 900 pounds of waste may interest you. Thank you. Number two is, why don't they paint them green? And for the states that have marijuana sales, they'd be the green boxes, and you've solved the problem.
I mean, just get on that, Pete. Just go buy these all at pennies on the dollar and make this happen. Anyway, how much is Walgreens spending a month to power machines that don't do anything?
You just said 3,800, right?
Yeah, 3,800 stores. How much in dollars?
Oh, gosh.
How much can it cost to have the lights on a machine that no one's using?
I'll just tell you.
Ask my Peloton.
$184,000 a month.
Oh, my gosh. Why don't they just unplug them? Because they have to be oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh.
Damn, great news stories this week.
Honestly.
Yeah, it's about time. Kristen, I hope you have a good week.
Thank you.
Dame, when I'm jamming fries in my face all weekend long, I'll be thinking about our friendship.
Good.
All right, everybody else, we're done with you. Next week on the show, your email question. So email us, askpete@petetheplanner.com. That's askpete@petetheplanner.com. And of course, address the emails Kristen and company. That's all we've got for you. So I'm sending you good vibes because good vibes are all that's in the budget. I'm Pete the Planner, and this is the Pete the Planner Show.
So what you're saying is if I went to my local CVS and I took the red box, I would really be doing them a favor, and then I could have one in my basement.
Why would you want it?
I feel like it'd be cool to keep my own DVD collection in it. Be like, what do you want to watch?
Do you feel like
Kinda
Tom
like
could
a
lift a
box.
900-pound red box?
I'm sorry, who?
Nothing.
Oh,
Do you believe that your friends could lift a 900-pound red box?
I'm pretty sure her friends have these things called skid steers, and they could just get that thing on a trailer. And a whole beat.
absolutely.
Man, we live different lives.
We do, yeah.
I have to Google skid steer. What else is going on? Everybody having a good time?
Are you really Googling skid steer right now?
No, I will later on my own time. I gotta go. But this was something.
It was.
It was a lot better than last week.
Well, when the bar is so low.
Last week caused a meeting.
An internal review of our practices.
Oh, well. All right. Well, this is great. Good luck with your lives, everybody. Stay getting money.